Hi everyone and welcome to the Dodo Bird Nerd. It's me, the Dodo Bird Nerd. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the next part of my extinct animal taxonomy series, this time going over, you guessed it, even more birds. So without any further ado, let's roll the intro and let's get started. So one quick thing before we get started, that being that all works and images used will be in the description of the video. So the first thing to discuss is, well, an error I made in a prior section of the series. And that is due to an error on the chart I saw with the birds on it, I missed the apodiforms, in which all of their living members, hummingbirds, swifts, and tree swifts, are not present on non-unset Magic the Gathering cards, like where they're actually like the creature type and stuff. While there is a hummingbird in an unset, I'm specifically saying non-unset, which I think I may have mentioned in the past I tend to do with this series, and so that's the reasoning for that. But mainly, yeah, I messed up with an error. I saw the chart, it was wrong. Originally I was going to cover the apodiforms, or what I thought the apodiforms were in this video. However, that ended up not happening and not being correct. So I thought I would address the error I made and specify the situation of apodiforms in Magic the Gathering here. So the first type of bird I'm actually going to be covering in this video thoroughly are the Encerra. Now these are typically water birds with webbed feet. And the types that are missing in Magic the Gathering are the following: ducks, the magpie goose, screamers, non-true types of the ones present in Magic the Gathering, as well as a few others I believe. And now what I mean with the non-true types of the ones present in Magic the Gathering, I mean is something is called a goose, but isn't actually a goose. So I thought I would mention the ones that are missing in that type of category here, as that's probably the best way I could go with it without having to list a bunch of different types of bird. And so by doing that grouping like that, it makes it a bit more streamlined for the video. So let's move on to the first actual type of Encerra form present in Magic the Gathering. So the first Encerra form up is the goose, or geese, because there's a lot of these. So these are water birds that, as I mentioned previously, have a lot of other types of birds called them, even though they are not. And you can generally know what a goose is. I mean, I have a picture from Gilded Goose's Secret Lair here. But yeah, they're typically just a type of water bird, and a lot of things that aren't technically geese are called geese. And so those are geese. And the final type of Encerra form to be covered in this video are swans. Now swans are large water birds with around 6 that are, actually I think exactly 6, that are not currently extinct. And yeah, that's basically it. These are just larger water birds that exist. I'm aware that I think one type, the trumpeter swan, no, not the trumpeter, the mute swan, is invasive in parts of the United States, and so I just thought I'd mention that here. And so in general, those are swans. The next type of bird that is going to be covered in this video are Mulga. I think that may be not correctly pronounced, but I might be right at the same time. Anyway, these are birds that have bigger wings, however they also have tinier beaks as well as bills. And so the ones that are missing in Magic are the nightjars that are not the Whippoorwill, as the Whippoorwill is a Magic card from the older days of Magic, which I will now cover what a Whippoorwill is now. So the Whippoorwill is a type of nightjar that receives its name from the noise that it makes. And so there are also several important differences between Whippoorwills that exist in real life and Whippoorwill as they've been shown in Magic the Gathering. Now the first difference is a bit more subtle, as in real life the Whippoorwill tends to have those dashes in the name to separate the syllables from like the whip, then the pour, then the will. I guess probably to better represent the sound that it makes. However, the other slightly more noticeable thing that is inaccurate from real life to the Magic card is that even though the art of the Magic card shows a bird in the air, the card of Whippoorwill does not fly for some reason. I haven't the foggiest idea as to why, but, you know, that's just how the magic card is. I wouldn't mind if at some point in the future they make like a new version of Whippoorwill that is maybe a bit more accurate, like have the dashes in the name and have a similar effect to the older magic card, but also, fly. That would be a nice preferred thing, I would think, for a newer version of a Whippoorwill magic card. And so I would not be opposed to seeing one in the future that corrects this older error in Magic the Gathering. The next type of bird are Girard Reforms? Girard Reforms. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And this is a grouping with a large amount of variety in the types of birds that are in it. And the main thing I guess I could say would be these typically are closer to the water most of the time. However, this is not always the case. And the ones that are missing in Magic, as there's such a large amount of these types of birds, I'm just going to list the suborders. Those being Choradri, Chionidae, Scolopassi, Thernocori, Ternissi, and most members of Lari. And I hope, again, I pronounced those correctly. And now, I don't quite remember which suborder it was, but one I would like to see definitely soon are Great Auks, as those are Girard Reforms, and just because it's an extinct animal that I think is cool, I think they could really easily make a magic card of it, and people wouldn't really complain, because at the very least, if their main problem with flightless birds in Magic is because people are having a trouble with the fact that a bird doesn't have flying, well, while the Great Auk isn't a penguin, it is closely, appearance-wise, related, looks like a penguin, and so maybe people will associate it with penguins and therefore be more accepting of the fact that the card wouldn't have flying, he says, very hopefully. But anyway, those are the very basic description of Girard Reforms, and so let's move on to the two types that are actually present in Magic the Gathering. So the first type of Girard Reform to cover in this video are gulls. These are a somewhat big water bird. They're not like terribly large, but they're not small either. And they're most often not just called gulls. Most of the time they are called seagulls. And so those are gulls. So next up are terns. And now terns are water birds with big and split tails. Basically, the tail splits in two and has basically two endpoints, is basically what I was trying to get at with this split tail line. But yeah, that is just a short little description of terns. So the final overarching type of bird that I'm going to be covering in this video are Galiforms. Now Galiforms tend to be a weightier group of birds, especially when compared to your traditional songbird, for example, and they mostly live on the ground. Though they can fly for the most part, they just tend in general to chill on the ground. And so the ones that are missing in Magic are the following: brush turkeys, chachalakas, curassows, guinea fowl, grouse, most jungle fowl, maley fowl, partridges, pheasants, quail, turkeys that are not from onsets, because I don't consider those when doing this series for the most part, I think entirely, and I assume a few others. So that is a general overview of Galiforms, so let's move on to the two that are actually present in main Magic the Gathering. So the first type of Galiform up are chickens, which I assume almost everyone, if not everyone watching this video, would have heard of. And now chickens are a type of jungle fowl, often used for food, and these are incredibly prevalent across the entire planet. Like I said earlier when I opened this section, I assume everyone watching this video is aware of what a chicken is. So yeah, those are a brief description of chickens. So the final type of bird that I am covering for this episode are peafowl. Now peafowl are a type of bird that are mostly only known for one thing, and that is for their very extravagant tail feathers. And yeah, that's the main thing that peafowl are known for. And so that's just my basic quick summary of peafowl. So what did you think of this episode of my Magic the Gathering taxonomy series? Let me know in the comments down below. And so one quick thing before we conclude, That being that the next Magic the Gathering video that I post will end up being a deck tech for Tovolar Wolf Tribal, not Werewolf Tribal. Because I'm a more zoologically focused channel, so it makes a bit more sense for Wolf Tribal to be the deck list. However, I will still have some werewolves in the deck because, you know, cross-tribe tribal support, so that's always nice to have for the deck, especially because I've already revealed a few, I think, in Midnight Hunt that care about both, so that's nice. So with all that out of the way, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!